Hi, welcome to this Excel tutorial video. Today we're going to continue looking at creating a custom data entry form. Now this is the third video in this series. If you haven't already watched the first two, I advise you watch those before you watch this one. Otherwise it might be a little bit confusing. I'll put a link to those two videos in the description. I'm going to continue from the end of video 2. This video was recorded in May 2021 using Excel 365. So at the end of the last video, we had created a drop down on our form. If I click on this button, the drop down is populated by the values in column A. And if I were to add a new value, so let's say Mary Jones IT board, if I add that, the person is added to the bottom and there's Mary. That's as far as we've got. Now what we want to do, the fact that we've created this drop-down list, the reason we created it is so that we can amend entries rather than just add them. So that's the logic we're going to put onto our solution today. So to begin with, I'm going to add a label here because I've got a label there. And then I'm going to add a button just to start things off to allow us to clear all of the values in here. So if I exit this and I come back here, it's already got kind of selections made here and it gets a bit confusing. So what I want to do is when I click on this button, I want a button here to allow me to clear the form. So let's begin with that. So I'm going to go to my Visual Basic. I'm going to double click on my data entry form. I'm going to quickly throw a label onto here. And I'm going to put the caption of my label is going to be select name. And now I've got some buttons here. I'm just going to push this one in 4 clicks and this one in 4 clicks. And then I'm going to just copy this button and stick it in the middle. This button, I've got to rename it. If you remember, you need to make sure that the names of the objects that you're going to interact with are correct and recognizable. So I'm going to call this CMD because it's a command button, and I'm going to say clear. And the caption is not going to be add, the caption is going to be clear. And now if I double click on that, it takes me to my VBA, to my code behind. It automatically brings up a procedure based on the action I've just actually done, which was to click on my CMD clear button. And what it means is this procedure that's called CMD clear _ click, whenever I click on that button, whatever's in this procedure will be actioned. So if I put some code in here to say, first of all, my combo box names.text equals empty string. Now as I'm doing this, if I do txtf for txt first name, which is the name of my text box, if I do control and space, Excel will go away and say, I'll find all of the objects or controls that begin with txtf and I will list them for you. The fact that there's only one, it lists txt first name for me, so it saves me from typing, and I will say that. If I just did txt and I did control and space, it'll offer me more options, of which there are 3, and I want to be txt last name equals. But if I did txtj for txt job and did control space, it will offer me that. It will type it in for me. So that is going to clear down my form, and let's just check and see if that works. If I come in here now, depending on so if I come in here and I put some text in here, if I exit my form and come back in, then it remembers what I'd selected in here. But if I come into my Visual Basic, maybe I do some, I don't know, I just put in I'll just put that in again. If I come back to here, I think it should retain what I'd had. Yes, there's 1, 3, and 4. However, if I come back to my Visual Basic and I go to my form, I think at that point it kind of refreshes the form itself. So when I come back to here now, the cells are blank. just something to note when you're kind of working with this. So it does remember the values that you put in previously, unless you've actually gone into the form in VBA, in which case it clears things down. So let me just put in some text, and I'll select that. And if I click clear, good. So it's cleared everything down. That's nice. So when I come to here, the form's cleared down, or I can click on my clear button and clear it. Very good. Next then, when I make a selection here, if I select 7, I want it to put the first name of 7, the last name of 8, and the job of 9 in these 3 fields here. So let's do that. So let's start with the form. Let's double click on the control that we're interested in. The point is, when I make a change to my combo box, I want it to populate the 3 fields below. So if I double click on my combo box, it brings me to this procedure here. It creates this procedure for me called CMB names _ change. That is the action that I'm interested in. When I make a change, I want it to do something. So if I wanted a different option rather than change, I showed in the last video, I've got options here to select if I wanted to, but the most common is the change, and that's what it's provided to me by default, and that's what I want. So that's perfect. So let us think about the logic of this. When I make a change to my drop-down box, what I'm going to get Excel to do is I'm going to get Excel to begin at A2 and say, does this match the selection in your combo box, the thing you selected? No. Does this match it? No. Does this match it? Oops. Yes, it does. All right. Well, I'll put 7 in this box, I'll put 8 in this box, and I'll put 9 in this box. But it's going to go logically down here until it gets to the point where it says, you selected that. Let's populate with this data. So in order to do that, I'm going to declare a couple of variables. The first variable I'm going to declare is going to be called strcell, and that's the variable that's going to store the value of the cells as it's going down row by row. And it's a string, which is why I prefixed it with str. Then I'm going to have logic that keeps a track on the row that I'm on. So it says, you're on row 2. That doesn't match the selected value. Let's go to row 3. Let's go to row 4. So it's going to follow the rows that I'm selecting. So I'm going to call this int row because it's going to be an integer, and there's my data type of integer. Then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to make int row equal 2 because I'm going to begin on row 2. I'm going to begin at cell A2. Then I'm going to say range a and int row dot select. And what that's going to do is it's going to take my cursor and put it into range A, and in this case 2. So this is saying A2 select. So it'll put my cursor there. Then I'm going to say strcell equals activecell.row. That is going to say select A2 and make strcell the value of A2. So strcell will equal the word for. Now we're going to begin with a loop. So this is a do while loop, and as the name kind of suggests, it will run while a particular condition is true. So this is how we syntactically write it. Do while this condition is true. So do while my variable is not empty, and it will just tick through. As long as I keep changing the value of this, it will tick through until this is no longer empty. Until this is empty rather. So let's put some logic in here. We can say if, in fact, I'll just quickly then, just to recap, strcell, right now strcell will equal the word for because it's the value of A2. So I'm going to say if strcell equals CMB names, which is the drop down that I've just selected a value on, dot text then. So now if strcell equals the value that I've selected, then I want it to populate my 3 text boxes. So I'm going to say txt first name dot text equals range, and because we're keeping an eye on our row, we can do that. I'm going to copy that just for speed. So txt first name, txt last name, txt job equals A, B, and C. And then outside of here, I'm going to say int row equals int row plus 1. I'm going to say range A and int row dot select, and str cell equals activecell.value, which is what I've done up above here. So to go through this, it will say, okay, right now this is the word for. Does 4 equal, imagine I've selected 7 in my drop down. Does 4 equal 7? No, it doesn't. So it doesn't come into here because this isn't true. Then it says, all right, int row, you are now 2 plus 1, so you're now 3. Range A3 dot select, this value now becomes the word 1, and it comes back up here, 1. Does my value equal 7? No, it doesn't. Let's go down to here. Okay, int row, which is 3, you're equaling yourself plus 1, so you're now equaling 4. Go to A4, this value equals the word 7, comes back up here. Does my value now equal my selection? It does. All right, this equals the word 7, this will now equal the word 8, and this will equal the word 9, because that's the selection in the job. So this will tick through, and it will continually tick through until this cell doesn't, until it equals an empty string. So it's going to go up to and say, right, when it gets to row 13, it's going to say, hold on, this is now, my value is now empty, I'll stop and I'll drop out of my loop, and it will come to the bottom here and do whatever actions I give it below. So that's kind of fine, but every time this runs, it's going to run 13 times until it gets to line 13. And as I have more and more entries, it's going to run more and more times. What I want it to do is, when it gets to a match, I don't want it to continue looping because it's found the first value that I want it to find. So what you can do here is you can say exit do. That will say, all right, I've run through once when my value was 4. That's not right. I'm going to run through again. The value is 1. I'm going to run through again. My value is 7. Oh, it matches. Do that, do that, do that, and then exit do, and that will drop down here, and it won't carry on looping. So let's test that. If I click on this, and I click on 7 as the example, 7, 8, and 9. If I click on my new entry, which is Mary Jones IT bot, and you'll notice if I'm selecting here, you'll see my cursor is on the selected row, because in the loop it's going try here, try here, try here, try here, try here. Oh, I found it, and then it's not doing any more. So let me just exit that. If I go back to my VBA, if I comment out this line so it doesn't exit do anymore. Now if I select first, which is that one there, you'll see the cursor's at the bottom, because although it's found first here, it's actually continued anyway regardless. So let's go back to here, because it's quite important for our logic for it to stop on the row that we are going to amend. So let me think about the next thing we want to do. In order to amend, we need the form to know that we're amending rather than adding. So when I clear this, the likelihood is I want to add something new. When I select one of these, the likelihood is I want to amend it. So let's go back to our logic in the CMD changes name. Let's do this. Let's say we've selected something in the drop down. It's been found, and the text boxes have been populated. Now let's change the value of our the caption of our button. So our add button, let's change the caption to be amend. And let me just test that. If I select John amend, because we are going to amend. And then if I clear this, really the logic should change that to be add. So let's go back to the clear button. Easiest way is to go into here and double click the button. There it is. So here I'm going to say cmd add.caption, because remember it's caption on command buttons rather than text, equals add. So let's test that. So if I select something here, amend, if I clear, add. Now we can use that logic. So let's exit this. Let's go back to our form. Let's go to our add button. So where's our add button? So when we click add, we want it to either add or amend depending on the value of this button now. So if I go to my add button, here we've got a variable already set up, and this variable gets the next blank row based on what we've got already typed in here. It gets the next blank row and it adds it. That's what we've got. So instead of adding, we want it to amend. So let's just change this logic to say if cmd add.caption. So if our add button, if the caption add button equals add, then we're going to keep this logic. Else we can say int next blank equals activecell.row. So if you remember, when we select something in our drop down, it goes all the way down till it finds it and it stays on that row. And the active row is the row that we actually want to amend. So this should do the job. So let's try this. If I click on this, if I click on the drop down and say I want to select this F name, L name, my job, and I'm going to just change my last name to be Tuesday. If I amend that, there it is, Tuesday. And I'll clear that. If I just exit that, there's one more thing we could do if we wanted to. So let me just go back to my Visual Basic. We've got a clear button here, and maybe when I've amended something, or maybe when I've added something, I want it to clear down all of the fields, so it's a blank form again. So when I've clicked it add, it refreshes the names, which, if you remember from video 2, that then clears down my drop down and repopulates it with everything. So if I've added a new entry, the drop down is always up to date. But at the same time here, this is calling this is calling a procedure there, this procedure here. So we've got this cmd clear underscore click, which clears down all of the fields and makes my add button caption to be add. So at the bottom of here, I can do the same thing as I have with refresh names. So I can just put in the name of this procedure. And if I come to here and say, let's amend John and make his surname, I don't know, Paler, click that, it's made John Paler, then it's cleared down all my fields and made that add again. That's the end of this video. I hope you found it helpful. I'll continue with another video soon. In the meantime, thanks for watching.